Hey, everybody, we're here for the new episode of the RLG cast. I'm here with the four horsemen of the apocalypse,
Woo!
Putty, JD, and Caps, the captain of the show. Thanks for making noise and cutting off my intro. Congratulations, you're fired. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about franchises. Just franchise fatigue, I think, is going to be the topic of this show. Something Putty has none of. If it was up to Putty, everything would turn into a franchise.
Well, yeah,
everything's
exactly.
a multiverse franchise.
Anyways, so let's just generally start off here with, do you think, as an overall idea in Hollywood, that franchise fatigue is real?
Absolutely, it is.
Well, that's the reason why a lot of indie films tend to want to try to push over the whole Oscar thing. But even then, franchises are trying to creep into the whole mainstream too. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird conundrum where the money's going to the franchises, so they're going to continue making franchises and ignore the independent films. So it's like, what do you?
But do you think that generally all franchises are bad and should go away? Or
no, not all of them.
No.
But the Oscars this year clearly proved that there is a bit of franchise fatigue thanks to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely dominated, right? Well, fantastic film. It's not a franchise; it's a standalone film, right?
If you look back at the history of award shows, like mainly the Oscars, there's not a lot of franchises that have ever won,
unless it's like for certain like effects or something, like Star Wars wins like for effects, or Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Or right? Costume design, which
Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings won on the wrong movie, and 100% in my eyes, I will die on that hill. That's the worst of the three movies for me by a long shot. So, but okay, so I gave a question, and we'll start off with the first one.
Okay.
What's a franchise, a specific franchise that you want to see die? That's like a current franchise that is going, that you just want to go away. And I'll go first.
Right.
I thought long and hard, very hard, super hard. And I couldn't shake Transformers out of my head.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what? And it's funny because the Beast Wars movie coming out, I'm kind of excited to see, but I also
wasn't bad either.
No, and it wasn't, but I also don't want to keep seeing any more Transformer movies. Do you know what I mean?
I just don't want to see any more Michael Bay movies.
I mean, can we eliminate Michael Bay from filmmaking?
I'm going to have to kind of agree with you on that one. Okay. Now, are we limiting this to movie franchises or just in general?
It could be any franchise on television, on your TV. So
okay,
a movie, a show, whatever you feel like.
Okay.
See, my movie's gonna be controversial. I feel
okay, so tell us your movie, Putty.
No, mine will be.
What order do you want to go?
It doesn't matter. You guys just go.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
I just jump in whenever you want to. I'll go. Mine is Mission Impossible. Here's my thing. There's good Mission Impossible movies and everything. They're great. It's just, I don't know. I'm starting to feel like when I watch a Mission Impossible movie, it's more like Stewart from Mad TV. Like, it's just Tom Cruise saying, "Look what I can do." You know what I mean? Like, I look at what I can do. He's good. It's action packed. It's fun, but I'm just bored of it. I kind of want to stop. So,
okay. Before we open the floor for that discussion, who wants to go next?
I got one.
Go ahead.
And everybody's gonna hate me for saying this. The MCU.
Ooh,
that's a good choice.
There's just too much. There's way too much. It needs not die out completely, but it needs to die down a little bit. There's just way too much. And now it used to be quality over quantity, and now it's quantity over quality.
Yep.
And I don't want to see it die out completely, not necessarily rebooted either, but it needs to not die out, but die down a little bit. So this way they can come back to making that quality film.
Okay, I have one I'm thinking of in my head, and it's what I think Caps picked. Go ahead.
This is just based on the movies, all right? Star Wars.
Well, not what I was expecting. I was genuinely expecting you to say Terminator. That's a good choice. Okay, so we can go. Mine is pretty a legit, I think, thing that most people would say. So
Yeah.
you guys took a different route. It's your choice, right? So I'm not going to knock your opinion. I do think, however, 5 out of the 6 Mission Impossible movies are not just good; they're fantastic.
The last 3 were amazing.
It in the same vein of you saying your reasoning for why that should end, then John Wick should also die because that's just Keanu Reeves going, "Look at me."
No, I kind of agree on that. That's the thing. I like John Wick as well and everything, but that's the same thing when I think of that series. I like the series, but it does need to die as well.
No, and
like,
it's completely fair. Your choice.
I think John Wick, the reason why it appeals to me a little more is because at least Keanu Reeves, the person I like, so it's more like I feel more sympathetic to want to support him. Where Tom Cruise, it's just more of like I just don't like the individual as well. So it kind of represents my idea of like I don't want to see that continue. It's just him trying to be cocky and look how cool I am. And that's just how I feel.
Absolutely fantastic movies.
No, I get it. I get it.
But like in the realm of action movies, John Wick may have a better overall action vibe
sequence
to it because it's much more like the traditional action movies from back in the day. But as movies as a whole, the way they're filmed, the way that they're written and directed, Mission Impossible blows John Wick out of the water.
The only
the
time
storytelling's a bit better. Yeah, I agree.
When it came into when Simon Pegg joined Mission Impossible, that's where it became a little more interesting to me. You know what I mean? But it wasn't enough to keep me going. You know what I mean? So,
but he's been there since the beginning. When did Simon Pegg come? Mission Impossible 2?
No, it was was it 2? I thought it was later.
No, it's either 2 or 3.
Emilio Estevez dies in the first one, and Simon Pegg, I think, replaces him.
I'm pretty. I know that Ving Rhames is there all the way through.
Yeah, Simon Pegg's been there for a while.
Yeah, either way, he's been there for a while. Okay, so does anyone else want to talk about Mission Impossible? So the MCU, I think
it's a good one.
It's a good one, but I am gonna knock you for it because I know you as a comic book fan don't really want the MCU to end. You just, like you said, want it to slow down. So that's kind of like it's a real
cheap
choice.
Cop out, yeah.
But I do actually fully agree with you.
I do too. Yeah,
I think we all do. It's just I want to get back the quality Marvel movies rather than whatever the hell's happening right now.
It's a discombobulated mess, and Ant-Man just showed it. Like it proved it.
And what's really funny here is I don't know why, and I'm releasing on my morals and everything. But if you notice, all other movies they're not really putting out there as much as Deadpool. That's why I keep on saying I feel like they're really riding on it, and they're putting more work into that than anything else when it comes to care and love.
I think you think that.
Yeah, that's only you, Putty. I don't think Deadpool is going to be that good of a movie. I'll be honest.
No. I'm not going to knock the quality of the movie. But I don't see them doing anything different with Deadpool than they are with the regular MCU, except the fact that they're trying to figure out a way to make it work in this universe. Is why it's not like a movie that they're
it's still going to be a
to
rated R, but it is going to be a soft R. This is not the Deadpool you're used to from the first two films.
The reasoning for why it's like seems like they're putting a lot of work into it for what you're saying is because I don't think they genuinely know how to fit this character or movie style into this universe. So that's what all the work is going into. I don't think the work is going into writing like a polished script.
But see, I'm trying to look at it in the sense of like everything else. They're rushing so much, pushing so much, and this like you gotta think No Way Home was such a great movie. Why was that such a good movie compared to everything else when it comes to building this whole multiverse?
Because Sony had 4 years between Far From Home. It was Sony that did No Way Home and not the MCU.
And that's exactly my point here. They're putting a lot of time to pushing that back, but I'm not seeing them putting any work into this other stuff that's coming out like years from now.
But in the same vein, like I'm not going to knock you because I do think, like I said, I feel like Deadpool is probably going to be good.
No, I'm not trying. I still think.
But do you think that all this time and effort is going to make the movie funnier? Like, is that what you think they're working on? Because I promise you, the story's not going to come out and be like a No Way Home story.
That's not what I'm referring to.
If anything, time and effort's going to be put into Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
But
if they're going to put the time and effort into it.
That's my whole point of everything. I even like I can't say for right now because of the whole controversy with what's his name, Kang that plays Kang, but it's such a weird thing because I'm not trying to do this because I like the character. It's just why am I? It's one of those things where I see more discussion because of Ryan Reynolds and all these other people, and even they're always putting a little more clues and hints to this, like when they did the whole thing with what's his name for Free Guy. Like they're always planting seeds, but that was far off before. It wasn't something that was part of the multiverse. My whole point of the thing is this: is we can tell they're rushing stuff. They're rushing stuff a lot, and when something goes wrong, they have to like try to fix it and mold it. And it's because they have all the delays they're having happen. You know what I mean? But we don't hear anything else about anything else. It's like everything gets done, or it's more self-contained. And I'm wondering why there's more soft approach to where they're like gradually putting more work in, or letting this have more time to work together, while these other things feel like they're being more rushed and being done within a year instead of having a 2-year period to actually do it. You know what I'm saying? It feels more rushed.
Just to touch on that before I segue into Caps, I do think you think that because that's the news you were looking for rather than looking at all of the news. And
I do,
that's fine.
I know the Marvels and everything.
But they're taking this time. The time you think they're taking is, like I said, because this character doesn't fit into this universe. So they're trying to figure out, how can we make this work in a PG world where this guy's rated R, but still have him take place? I don't think the effort is going into creating a great movie. I mean, mind you, the movie might be great, and I'm not going to be upset. And on a second side of this, I also think if you've been really paying attention lately, Marvel has stopped production on like everything. Everything got pushed back because they're trying to work harder on everything now, not just Deadpool, which is all of this is coming out of Star Wars, which segues to Nick, because Star Wars, they've specifically said they've cut so many projects out because they're like, this is not working. And then Marvel saw that, and Marvel started firing people left and right. Do you see how many people got fired at Marvel?
Yeah,
they're just pushing out trash. So I think there's more to it than just Deadpool, but you're not wrong about Deadpool. I just think you're very focused on that. But you are right. You are correct.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Donuts made this point like a while ago. Yeah, it's just they're not paying attention to quality. It's just trying to get as much out as possible and get that cash grab.
They're striking while the iron's hot. And unfortunately, if you're striking while the iron's hot, eventually it's got to be put back into the forge to get reheated. And they haven't done that yet.
Well, that was big. Okay, but so we're taking this into basically the same place. So I don't want to argue about Marvel anymore, because you guys are all, especially you and JD and Star Wars. I want to be honest, my next choice after Transformers was Star Wars, but I thought about it and I was like, but I really like Mandalorian and I really like what they're doing with the shows.
Based on the movies, though.
So based on the movies. If we're just going just movies of that franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so if I could take JD's thing, I would like to eliminate all the shows from Marvel and just keep the movies. And if I'm going with Caps' thing, I completely agree. I'd like to get rid of all the movies and just stick with the shows.
But some of the shows I like from Disney Plus, they're still there. That I wish I would still want them to part. They're just some.
It's not ones I don't want. I don't want to remove the ones that exist. I want them to stop making more shows.
No more new ones. Yeah,
I gotcha.
I
Maybe
think
put time and put one out a year. I would not mind.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm just saying, for me, if I had to pick those, but Star Wars was genuinely on my list as a whole, because I do think we're so caught up in Star Wars about everything that we're making is so focused around characters and things that already exist rather than being new and fresh, right? Like
Boba Fett, I like what they did. I think that's why I like Mandalorian so much, and I like Andor a lot.
But Andor, I agree with. The Mando is all based on nostalgia. Yes, he's an original character, but everything is based around stuff that already exists.
Yeah. But same thing with Andor. Andor, it's going to be a 2-season series. It's just going to lead up to Rogue One, and that's all. But it's great to see all this section of the world that we didn't know was a thing, right? Yeah, we already know everything in Mando. It's not giving us new stuff. It's more the backdoor politics.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And see,
I just don't want him to ruin the mystique of Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. Like sometimes you just got to leave things alone. For example, like the Mandalorian. Originally, I think it was only supposed to be 1 season, right? And then they started coming back with another one.
I think 3 was always the plan? 3 was always the original idea, but then they expanded with Boba Fett and.
So what is it going to be now? Is it 5?
They're saying 5. There's going to be what's the other? There's going to be an Ahsoka spinoff. There's going to be now. What's the other one?
Second season of Obi-Wan,
there is one more spin-off coming, and then apparently Book of Boba Fett is getting a second season, and
same
so
thing with
is
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan's coming back for another season?
Andor, yeah.
Yeah.
See, now here's my thing. I don't know how Ahsoka's going to be. Obi-Wan was good and everything,
Mhm.
but I agree with the whole thing. I feel like the whole Jedi thing needs to die. I know that sounds bad, but let me explain why. They're doing really good with the whole Western thing. We can have Grogu, those kind of things, is the Jedi or the idea of the Force there. But let's have a Western. Let's have fun seeing the smaller part of the world in Star Wars, because we already have our ships. Everyone has ships in this world. So why can't we have it more of a Western tone and then go back to the Force when it's needed later on? And, you know, I mean, there's so many good stories they could work with here, and then bring the Jedi back when it really needs to come back. And it'd be a good time.
Who was
Versus-
who was Timothy Oliphant's character?
Vanth.
I think a story about him being out deep in the desert where they were like dealing with all that like Western stuff, like Putty made, that was a good
How he became sheriff kind of
Yeah.
thing. And
Mhm.
I think that's a pretty cool idea.
because that stuff's really appealing right now. And the thing is, with Mandalorian, it's really working good, but they're also using hints of the Force, but you don't need that. And that's what I'm saying. They're doing good
but
with
it's
that.
few and far between, other than the whole thing with Luke at the end of season 2 and the little bits that Grogu has shown here and there. Really, Grogu this season, like I'm up to, we up to episode 6 now, I think.
Mhm.
He's
Yep.
only used the Force in one episode.
Oh, 2. I think 2. He did with
I
the
just
chair.
remember those cave creatures.
The chair too. Remember, he was using the Force in the chair when he was with when they was talking to what's his name when they first came back on the planet.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
And
He
the
does.
candy and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's still okay. That's what I'm agree with you, JD. They are not forcing the Force powers, and I'm glad they're not. Let Grogu have fun with the Force powers. That's what we can do right now. Just let him have his little fun with it. We can go back to the idea of it being a mechanic and fighting later when it needs. Like let's have fun with this. Don't have to force things. We don't need to be fed all this. We can get it later on. That's how I feel.
Caps, do you want to give us any more about Star Wars?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so let's before we get on to the more positive ones, I feel like we might as well just stay on the negative, well, not negative, but
Mhm.
the opposite end. So another question I asked was, what's a franchise you don't want to come back? And I'll go first. I'm gonna say Back to the Future. I don't think you don't.
Oh
Same.
yeah.
That's my number one, but I figured we were all going to say Back to the Future, so I also chose The Matrix.
Okay. So what about you, Putty? Since we already know these two.
Mine's a really obscure, weird one. Sharknado. Get rid of them damn.
But that's
films.
okay. That's fair because that's like a hate thing. Like I just don't
Well-
want to see this trash movie anymore.
Well, see. Also, I understand the appeal of Sharknado because for me, I feel like it's this generation's the Toxic Avenger. Like it's just that really bad movie that this has like monsters or creatures.
It's
or
also in the
something.
same vein as
Don't worry.
it's also in the same vein as the Piranha movies, like the Piranha Double D's
exactly.
or whatever it was called.
I just want it gone, and there's so many Sharknados, and it feels like they're still making more. I don't know if
There's
there
like
are
7
not,
or
but
8 of them now, right?
I don't know
Like,
how many,
stop.
but there's a lot.
Like stop. It's weird. It
We're
was
done.
funny, but the first
It's
time.
funny that
but
you
we're
said
done.
Piranha as well, because that's another franchise that you don't even know the movies are coming out, but they just kept dropping.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess let's talk about the Matrix first.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the new Matrix. None of you guys liked it, I don't think. Well, I think JD didn't
I
mind
liked
it.
it, but
I didn't
okay.
mind it, but like I think there's not much more you can tell with that story.
Yeah.
Like if it
I
ends
think
here, I
the
know they
way-
want to do a 5th one, but if it ends there, I'm happy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say
too.
this. I think the way that it ends in the 4th one, it doesn't need more. Regardless whether or not you like the 4th one, I think the only option outside of what we got in the first 3 was to go in the direction of the 4th one, and now that we've gone that direction, we have nowhere left to go. So why continue the franchise?
Right.
You went full meta. Like that's it. End it now. That's actually a really good choice. I didn't even think about the Matrix. But yeah, well, let's the elephant in the room. Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta leave things alone. And
It doesn't need it.
it
no.
doesn't,
But see,
there's no other story to tell.
well, here's the thing: the comeback thing. That was one of those movies I didn't think of it in my head because of one reason. There's some roles you just cannot fill in or make another person like that. Those two characters, Doc and Marty, the actors, the characters, everything is just so perfect.
But
that I
even
would never
Tom
even think
Wilson
anyone-
as Biff, like everybody,
Yeah, I
Leia
agree.
Thompson, like
But
everybody.
that's my whole point.
It's a perfectly cast movie.
Mhm.
Like an unspoken character is the DeLorean. Like it's everything.
That's true. The
Every
car itself
aspect-
is a character.
Yeah,
But see,
every aspect of that movie you cannot recreate. Sometimes you just got to leave it alone. I mean,
Yeah.
even with Total Recall, when they made the remake for Total Recall, it's like,
But that was actually closer to the book.
It's not a bad movie, but it's like when you already had the good version of Total Recall, why
Yeah.
make
That's the
another
thing.
one?
yeah.
that's the
But see, here's-
thing. I mean,
Go, Putty.
it is a closer version to the book, but because
Yeah.
it follows, it's going to follow the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. It's like people get confused, and it's like they're not comparing it to the book. They're comparing
No,
it
they're
to
comparing it
last
to the
movie.
Arnold movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I
Putty,
think,
go.
I think I'm one of maybe a handful of people who's actually read the book.
I've never
Oh
read
no,
the
I
book.
haven't.
Putty, are you
but-
gonna get spit this out? Come on.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, here's my situation. When I think of these movies, like you see, you have your sequels and then your trilogies. Once it gets a fourth movie, that's when I start thinking of it as a franchise. Back to the Future as a whole is a perfect trilogy. You don't want to break that or sever that. That is the movie you say that is a trilogy. That is the most greatest trilogy out there. Because once you break that, you then become franchise and you no longer can use that term. And that's why I don't even think of it as a franchise.
But I would
think of it as
consider Back
ultimate
to the
trilogy.
Future a franchise.
It is a
because there was the
franchise.
animated series.
Listen,
And I
I'll
agree,
tell
I
you
agree.
this
And
is
the
my
animated
definition.
series was canon.
If a franchise, if a movie has more than one, okay, if there's part one and then part two, and then there's also some sort of show and also a huge massive product line, and it spans decades of popularity, that's a franchise.
I get what you're saying.
They're characters that you can sell, right? Like a movie, even if it's a very popular, if there's only one, it's not a franchise.
Yeah.
Well, unofficially, the Back to the Future game by Telltale, that was unofficially Back to the Future 4.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, again,
technically,
I get-
either way, they has a game. They have
Yeah.
multiple games.
yeah.
They have TV show. I mean, like,
Homer Simpson did the voice of Doc, for crying out
yeah,
loud.
it's a piece of pop culture history that can never go away, and it's
My
still
brother-in-law's
holds up.
favorite movies.
It's still watchable.
It's funny. It's funny.
It looks good still.
It's funny. It's one of those movies that no, there's no reboot. There's nothing, but it still stands the test of times to where even kids nowadays know what that movie is, and that's weird. Like there's not many movies that get to do that without already having stuff.
It
that's coming out
transcends
recently.
generations.
Yeah.
It's also one of the most played movies like ever on TV.
Yep.
So
But
I
it's
mean,
a good TV movie too.
yeah, it's because it's barely has to have anything taken out of it to be on TV.
Exactly.
It's just
But-
like don't screw it up. And okay, so let's go on to the more, I guess, positive side of things.
Okay.
So a franchise we want to continue. Okay, and I'll go first. I'm staying with movies. I want the Star Trek Kelvin universe to continue. I think there's so much potential.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I think there's so much potential. And okay, so is that what you picked?
That's exactly
Okay,
what I picked. Star Trek,
fall
Star
on my
Trek in
backup.
general. Yeah.
I'll fall on my backup. I want Tron. We talked about it in the last episode we did, but I want more Tron. I think Tron as a franchise will be great. There you can spawn so much out of that universe, and it just has so much potential. Like we talked about how deep you can go into, because it's all computer parts, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just
And
it's a whole
computers are always
universe.
evolving.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we know our two picks.
Yeah.
Cap?
This one was a tough one. I mean, I went with Dark Knight because I know for a fact that Chris Nolan would take the time to do it justice. He would find some people to write a good script. He left it on
Ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, left it on a cliffhanger because there are ways in which he could take this thing. Characters that can take on that character, the Dark Knight. But I'm curious to see what, and I have confidence in what he could do with it. So I went with Dark Knight with
Okay, so let's expand on that. Because of the villains that they've already used, who would you use as a villain?
Hold on. Putty, tell us yours first.
Oh.
Well,
Oh
I
no, let's
wanna
continue
go.
on his because mine's got some results and I got a lot of explanations. So let's continue on
Okay,
that. 'Cause
so I'll tell you, there's so many people you can dig into there.
Well, they haven't done the Riddler yet,
They
right?
haven't done the Riddler. They haven't done the
Mhm.
Penguin.
That's
and,
true.
and he is very grounded in
Penguin
that
would be
universe.
very good.
My
Yeah.
question
Penguin's
to
very good in Dark
Caps
Knight Rises.
is,
And as far as I know, Joker never died in the second one. So
Yeah, but you
I
can't
know-
recast Legend.
and that's
though.
hard. Yes, that would be definitely hard.
so, but this is where I want to go with this. If you were to continue this franchise, in my eyes, I have a direction that you go. Do you use Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Batman? Because I think the idea of the hat tip to like, hey, Bruce Wayne's there is just a figment of Alfred's imagination, and he's actually dead.
And he takes up the
And
mantle.
I think it works better than that, like that. I don't like the idea that he survived that. It takes away so much from that movie.
Yeah,
It really
I see your
does.
point.
Yeah, I like that
It'll be-
idea.
It'll be a curious thing. It'll be a really interesting thing that Chris Nolan to see what he could come up with.
You got the
it-
Dark
it-
Knight Rises, the Dark Knight Returns, and the Dark Knight Rebirth.
Yeah, there you go. The Dark Knight Robin.
Well-
Okay, Putty, well, you want to say something? Go ahead. You
Well,
lifted your
the-
fingers.
Well, yeah, because the reason I want to speak of is because going upon the whole idea of Batman anyway, with them doing the new Flash movie, and they're saying, hey, we can break the rules here and continue the franchise from Tim Burton's Batman into this world, right? So I'm thinking the same thing. I want to retcon the third movie. Second movie's okay, maybe to keep, but at least the first one will be the groundwork for the franchise or the continuation. I want them to continue the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie 1990 version. Though that movie in my eyes was so good, and to be able to continue that story, it's so easy you can do it. But even to this day, those costumes still looked really that good. If you can make it look like that and have it that gritty look, even if you put two in there, you can take fragments of two and then maybe use the time travel from the third movie to retcon that whole story.
I think you have to keep the second movie.
Okay, I'm fine
And
with that.
I think
okay,
you.
but want the third
I
one
would
gone.
even keep the third movie, but I would consider it like it happened outside of their New York lives, right? Because it affected nothing in their New York life.
In the
'cause
New
they
York
were
world, yeah.
completely pulled
That
out
could
of
true.
that.
I mean, I'm okay with that, but I really don't like the
You don't
third
have
one
to
that much, so I
reference
really-
it.
Or
Yeah, exactly.
something that they did in the third movie, Shredder never dies at the end of the second, so they can bring the Shredder back.
Okay, and that
Exactly.
they could find out that that's how it happened. I don't like the idea of franchises deleting movies because then it makes it so like I can't watch all three of these movies and then this one anymore. I have to watch these two, then this one, then go
Well,
back
that's
and
kind of
watch
what they're
this
doing
one.
with the Flash movie, though. I hate to put it that way, but that's kind of what they're
Yeah,
doing.
but the way
so-
the Flash movie goes, all of those movies lead up to Flash. He's resetting the universe now, so everything I watch
I guess
after
so, I guess
this
so.
is different, right? When
Well, that's why I
Halloween is
figured the
like
time
the
travel
rest of the
thing would be that
Halloweens
way
don't
thing.
count.
Yeah.
Now I have to watch Halloween 1 and then the new ones and then go back and watch 2 and then the ones that come off 2 and then go back and watch 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the Flash is doing the same thing you could do with Turtles 3 because of the time travel. That's the reason why I figured you could use
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
and
that's why
I agree
yeah.
with that. I think that's a good idea, and I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
love to have Turtles come back. Caps would love to have Turtles come back. I know that
It
for
was
a
Who
fact.
wouldn't love Turtles?
I still go back to that. Like every time I watch anything, even I'm thinking about the Seth Rogen thing, I went back and watched the first movie and I'm like, Rick, man, why can't someone do it like this? This
Yeah,
was
they
just
should do it
so
like
solid
that.
and good.
But I don't think they should erase the other movies. They should
No.
film it like that.
no,
The
I
new
get it.
movie
But
looks
maybe
good.
You guys
Yeah, I
continue
Yeah, I
Continue
your,
kind of want to see that.
He'll be back.
But-
Okay, so let's move
Just
on.
like
to
the Terminator.
Yeah, the Terminator. Let's move on to the next category here, so
Sure.
we can get this video out of the way. Franchises we want rebooted. So a completely new look. Has zero connection to the other franchise except that maybe it's gonna redo the story. And
I
I'll
have
go
one.
first again.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm glad you have one. You needed to have one.
The whole purpose of the show.
So
Yes, I
kind
get
of
it.
I went through this really for a while and I couldn't get away from these two. And one of them is kind of weird because it completely still exists. It's for me, I would like to see Die Hard rebooted because I think it's a really easy movie to hop back into and go. It's an easy movie to make into a franchise, and the way that John Wick and stuff is happening now, you can easily do that in Die Hard. And
yeah.
my other choice was Indiana Jones, which that's weird because there's one coming out now, but I think we need more adventure movies where someone is hunting a MacGuffin. Like that just needs to exist. And
Well, there is talks of Brendan Fraser doing a Mummy 4. That was in the same vein.
yeah, and That would be in the continued franchises, though.
Mm.
I want a full reboot. I want a new Indiana Jones. I know it would be a difficult task. That's why I'm saying Die Hard first.
But there's still many stories to tell, right? Like,
Yes,
because it
for
jumped.
sure. For sure.
Like, tell the story of how he met Short Round or something. Like,
I agree.
Just start at the beginning and think of all the opportunity you have. Place him in the same era, whatever it was, 1920s.
do it from like 1929 to 1939 or 45, whatever that era
They
is.
had the Young Indiana Jones TV series. You could make another. You could reboot it with another a Young Indiana Jones that leads into the old one too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
there's
you
so
can
many
bridge it.
ideas in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not a bad idea. You could have both things. You can have you can make Young Indiana Jones again as a TV franchise, but then also have the movies going with where he's an adult, and then have it so it bridges directly into that first movie.
Yeah.
Right. And like you could do Die Hard as a series if I want. You could make every season one thing that's
kind of like
happening.
24.
Yeah, exactly. Because I do think there's so much potential in a movie like Die Hard, especially in the action climate that we're in now. Caps, my pick was Die Hard / Indiana Jones.
Or what you wanted.
A rebooted franchise, yeah. So
yeah, this was a tough one.
So you go then, since it was a tough one for you.
I had Indiana Jones. I had Terminator, but do it right.
Like start right from the beginning again and don't
like,
let it
yeah,
don't
like
let it slide.
do it right. You know what I mean? Put a proper story together and you know, execute properly. You know what I mean? Because it's a story that can resonate in this day and age. It's a story that people
the
can
rise of
relate to.
AI, like it's
but
that's a good one. We knew Terminator was going to make an appearance on the list.
It had to. Putty, go. Give me yours.
So mine, and I feel like it's a good time because of all the special effects we have and everything. And there wasn't actors in this movie that were really well known. And I think they should reboot the Neverending Story. Like
that would work well nowadays because there's not much good kids content.
And you could even do
Pixar.
a series just like they do with Stranger Things if you wanted to. There's so much potential there, and there's no actors tied down to us. You don't have to bring characters out, nothing, because they're all based on just the characters alone, not the actors. And so you're not going to be sitting there going, "Oh, I think of Harrison Ford." No, there's no actors in that movie that really are well known, to be honest with you. And that's why
Jack Black.
I feel like it's good. Well,
Jack Black. Is that Neverending Story 3?
3. What's his name? Jonathan Brandis was in the second one.
Isn't Fred Savage the main character?
No, that's Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Don't bring that back.
I picked Neverending Story. I think it's a good time.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's another one like Willow that deserves a shot. It doesn't. It might not work out, but it deserves a shot. But so does Labyrinth, and so does what's the other one?
Well, they did Dark Crystal.
Oh yeah, they did Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
That's right.
But see, another thing is like so.
Legend. I'm thinking of Legend with Tom.
Oh,
Cruise.
that would be a great one.
Sorry, okay, go Putty.
But see, I'm even thinking of the broader sense of how reason why it'd be good to reboot it is think of this. Not many kids are reading books. They're doing it all on their things. Seeing the physical book could be a big deal, but then even then, you could market so much of like, oh, buy this magical book. You have your own never-ending story, and have like a tablet set up inside of it, or some kind of basically.
They walk into a bookstore and they're like, what the hell is a book?
Yeah, the point I'm saying is you have so many things you could use as like cash grabs for people to buy products because there's so much great things in that thing that are.
Give me a plush Falcor any day.
Exactly, you know what I mean. So again, I don't know why no one's thought of it and why it hasn't even been like approached at this moment. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. Well,
I got one.
Oh yeah, you didn't go yet. Go ahead.
I didn't go yet. We've done Godzilla. We've done King Kong, and sticking in that Universal era, I want to see a good reboot of Jaws.
Ooh.
But do you stay practical?
Yes, and you can add some CGI, but if you can do a good practical, like if you can make Jaws look like the dinos from Jurassic Park and believable, like put Spielberg back on it, like a full reboot of Jaws, I think we're ready for that.
What about Jaws?
Jaws is
There's
2 Jaws. Like, I mean, they tried with other movies like Megalodon and which one was the other one? Deep Blue Sea. but these were like genetically engineered or whatever. This, I just want to, like, guys out fishing. It starts off, a guy's fishing, then all of a sudden this giant great white just comes and destroys the boat, you know, and then they create a hunting party and go out, kind of like a Moby Dick kind of story, where the one guy survives and he's out to get Jaws.
I think that works.
I agree.
I like Jaws, and we haven't had a good Jaws movie since Jaws.
And see, I feel like you can that can be a good. You can put so much effort into that one movie to where you don't have to make it. It doesn't have.
I don't even want a franchise. Just give me one movie. That's all I want.
One good rebooted Jaws movie that just is all about the fear factor that movie did in a realistic. Like you have so much of the social media. You could even probably even use that as a method of showing off that being attacked. Like you imagine, like you're holding your phone. Oh my God, you know, there's so many things they could do with the idea. What is a marketing?
But they have to bring back Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
I agree. That's awesome.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
No, I'm good too.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know what's your favorite franchise in the comments below, and peace out.